Hawks. We needed that one. 4 more at home. Need to go on a roll. Let's get it.
That was a huge win for us. We needed that one, so that was good. What's up? We're clicking. I feel it. It's coming along.
Welcome in, Hawks fans. Boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for the Believe in Hawks episode. The Hawks get back in the win column tonight, 124-118 over the Indiana Pacers. And a very impressive win for this team as they need to start gaining some wins to gain some traction in the Eastern Conference. Due to Orlando losing tonight, Chicago, the Hawks have moved up to 8th after this victory and now only are sitting behind Miami in terms of play-in seeding, in terms of the highest play-in spot, which is the 7th spot. So we're going to talk about the game tonight. Obviously, big performance from the bench. Trae Young with another double-double, 22 points, 16 assists in the game. Okongwu continues to play very, very well. And Dyson Daniels continues to be very big for this team moving forward. So obviously, we're going to break that all down. Believe in Hawks. And I appreciate all of you for tuning into the Believe in Hawks podcast this evening, tonight, the morning, whatever you listen to this, watch this, however you watch it, everything under the sun. I appreciate it. Obviously, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below about anything you wanted to talk about from this video, any comments from the game that you feel like maybe I didn't touch on, or you just wanted to make mention of that you've seen as of recently, and also for my audio listeners as well. Leave a rating, leave a review, show your boys some love. Appreciate all y'all for sure. So, obviously, like I said, the Hawks right now, you're in this playoff push mode, trying to get jockeying for position in the Eastern Conference. Big win, obviously, over the Indiana Pacers, a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, a firm playoff team in the Eastern Conference, who's all jockeying between 4 and 6 in terms of their playoff seeding. And like I said, they needed this game. Tyrese Haliburton didn't play tonight. Mandarin didn't play tonight either. But at the end of the day, the Hawks obviously don't have Jalen Johnson. They don't have Vic Krejci either playing for them as well in this game. So both teams had a couple injuries going into this game, but the Hawks were able to come out on top. And this game was really a game of runs. Indiana got out to a lead. It felt like one of those games where every quarter, outside of the first quarter, which was not a good quarter for the Hawks, they struggled offensively. They continued to miss shots around the rim. That's been a very big story. A lot of numbers have came out of recently about some of the struggles the Hawks have had scoring around the rim. And then you couple that with some missed free throws on top of that from time to time. You kind of see sometimes in these games, those missed shots, those missed floaters, those missed layups, those missed free throws sometimes come back to haunt the Hawks later in the game. But they were able to overcome that. And so really for the rest of the game, it was Indiana gets up, Hawks make a run. As soon as the Hawks get a lead, Indiana makes another run. They get the lead back. Hawks have to fight back. And it continued with like that through quarters 2 and 3. Hawks took a lead in both of those quarters at some point, but Indiana was able to get them back. Because a big story was the Hawks did not finish quarters well. They did not finish the half well, and they didn't particularly finish the third that great either. But when it mattered most in the fourth quarter, Hawks made another run, and they were able to finish the game and hit big free throws down the stretch. Onyeka hitting 4 big free throws down the stretch. Obviously, Trae hitting 2 to help seal the win. So some of those things that have hurt them in the past, they were able to do in the late moments of this game to get the victory against the Pacers. But that's kind of how the game flow was throughout the game. Indiana obviously is a team that has given the Hawks a lot of problems, a team that has basically had the Hawks' number. I mean, just if you remember last year, the Pacers basically were averaging 140 points against the Hawks. The Hawks could not defend them in any shape, form, or fashion. This game compared to those games was very, very 124-118. That seems like a normal game when it comes to how these two teams have played recently, especially in the previous year. But the Hawks were able to kind of slow Indiana's offense down a little bit tonight. Yeah, you could say Tyrese Haliburton didn't play tonight, but at the end of the day, Indiana has an offense where even when they're losing guys, it's the same for every guy. Get a bunch of shots, play fast, get fast breaks, get dunks. It's a very fast-paced offense. And it's designed to keep your defense on its toes. It gets you out of alignment. It makes you really test your rotations. They really test your defensive principles because of the way they play. And if you aren't up to stuff that game, Indiana can blow you off the court offensively. That's why they were so great last year, is because they could easily explode on a team for 130 if you're not on it defensively that night. Obviously, this year has been a bit different now since the start of the new year. They've played more closer to the Indiana team of last year than the way they started the first half of the season. But at the end of the day, the Hawks were able to come out in this game and get big performances tonight. Like I said, the bench was big tonight. Of course, for the Hawks, LeVert had 8, Niang had 24, Mann had 12, and Capella had 6. And I believe that equals 50 points for the bench tonight. So obviously the Hawks have been top 5 in bench scoring the whole year. Getting 50 points from your bench tonight was obviously super big, especially now with the new additions. They have played a tremendous role in why the bench has been able to maintain. Like I said, during that long losing streak, the bench was letting the Hawks down. They weren't getting a lot of production from their bench. And so you saw how the Hawks were struggling offensively to just maintain offense because of that. Well, now that they've revamped it, now they have guys who can put the ball in the basket, and you're seeing the bench now being able to carry the load. Niang was the guy tonight. And the thing about the bench, what's really impressive is that, again, it's any given night. It could be any of them. Obviously, the last couple of nights, you're probably going to think it's been LeVert and Mann. Tonight was Niang and Mann, and then some nights it may just be LeVert. Some nights, Niang and LeVert are going to be the top guys. I mean, they just have the ability to go off at any time. Niang shooting, LeVert sometimes his ball handling. Obviously, we know what he did against what he did in a couple of games ago against Memphis to beat them in Memphis. And obviously Terrence Mann, he's really found his shot as of recently, hitting big threes, finding more comfortability. And Quinn mentioned this a couple of games ago about really, when they were losing, it's just like, listen, it's going to take some time. It's not an excuse, but guys have to get comfortable. And people, I think, underestimate how long it really takes for when you have new players on a team, especially if they're going to play a major part of your team, how much time that can take to get everyone kind of where they need to be in terms of where the team is, especially at the trade deadline. That's why the trade deadline, sometimes you maybe want to acquire 1 or 2 guys. It's easier to fit them in. Hawks got 3 guys. You sent 2 guys out. You got 3 guys back. So obviously you're replacing 2 guys who are a big part of your team with 3 guys who are a big part of your team. And now you're having to integrate them with low rotations, lineups, defensive rotations. I think defensively, especially, is sometimes the hardest thing to integrate with new players because, that takes sometimes chemistry and just an understanding and a knowing how everything is supposed to work from a schematic perspective defensively. Because defensively is about timing and effort and just being on point. Offensively, I mean, at the end of the day, you can be new to a team, but if you can still knock in 8 threes if you take 8 shots. So, that's not going to change. Outside of depending if the offense is a certain type of offense that runs to a player, or they have obviously a more ball movement offense like the Hawks have. But overall, the Hawks, like I said, tonight were able to do some good things. Let's look at some of the numbers from the game. Hawks shot 53% from the field, 33% from 3. They hit some big threes late in the fourth quarter. I believe they hit 4 in the fourth quarter. Richiche, there was a big sequence where Richiche hit a 3 and then Niang hit 2 threes in a row, which gave the Hawks the lead, and they were able to keep it from the rest of the game at that point in the fourth quarter. So big shots were made down the stretch by the guys. Hawks shooting 78% from the line, 14 of 18 tonight, only had 8 turnovers. Hawks have been a low turnover team the last few games, which has been huge. One of the big issues with this team has been high numbers of turnovers. The last few games, last 2-3 games, they have been able to cut down those turnovers, get it down a little bit, which I think helps, obviously keeps those possessions that can end up in a shot for you, gives you more looks. Obviously, the Hawks in a lot of games have to win the possession battle to begin with. And so obviously, if you're able to reduce the turnovers, it just allows you to be more in your offense. And also, I think it also helps you stay in a flow offensively. I think when you start playing sloppy, it can kind of escalate. It feels like, when you turn the ball over, it can just snowball. And when you don't turn the ball over, you're limiting fast break points, especially against a team like Indiana who can take advantage of that, who is one of the better transition teams in the league. Not having a lot of turnovers tonight keeps Indiana from getting into their offense, keeps them from able to take advantage with how quickly they play offensively, getting good looks, getting up threes, or just finding a guy like Obi Toppin or whoever in the fast break down the lane. So the Hawks did a great job of that tonight. Hawks had 32 assists tonight. Obviously, half of those went to Trae Young with 16. Feels like sometimes when you have these high assist games, Trae Young almost has half of the assists most of these times. But 32 assists tonight, that's always a sweet spot for the Hawks when they're playing offensively. They want to get high numbers of assists with the type of offense that they do run. Hawks tonight won the rebounding battle by 1 offensive rebound, 11 to 10 offensive rebounds for the Hawks. 43-42 for the Hawks in total rebounds tonight as well. So obviously that was big. And to also follow up on the points off turnovers, Indiana only had 10 tonight off points off turnovers, which is really good if you think about how, like I said, how India likes to score points. Atlanta had 14 tonight. So they did a really good job there, like I said, limiting that and helping themselves get out. Because, I mean, in terms of fast break points, Indiana only had 12. So, again, you were able to limit it tonight, keep Indiana from getting into this stuff, and then you got big contributions from the guys. So that's obviously a really, really big thing and a good thing overall. Now, I do want to touch on one thing. I know a lot of Hawks fans have seen it online. I've talked about the backup center position. Obviously, Clint tonight. The biggest thing with Clint that I think a lot of people are struggling with has always been with Clint. It's weird. He has games where he doesn't look very good mobily. And then there's other games where he looks better. He looks more loose. I don't know if that's just his body deteriorating. So there's some nights he feels better, some nights he doesn't. Or what? I know some people have argued for why maybe we don't see a Dominic Barlow more. I've said a few games ago after Clint, I think, had a terrible game, that I would personally at this point rather see Barlow. I think a lot of Hawks fans are also kind of in that same sentiment of Barlow should probably be playing over Clint. I get why the Hawks do it, because at the end of the day, they're like, he does provide size and he does provide rebounding. And then when you do get a good game from Clint, it does sometimes feel impactful in a game when he's like, oh, he's really big on the boards, or he's actually able to take advantage of his matchup in some capacity. But it's one of those things where if Clint gives you 10 points, you're like, oh, this is big that we got 10 points from Clint tonight. You know, where I think with Barlow, I've always said the thing is that he's a better offensive player than Clint. Defensively, I think Barlow's improved. I think he could hold up. Obviously, he's 6'9". Clint is like 6'10". So it's not that big of a difference. And Barlow, I feel like, is a bigger guy than Clint in terms of just size in general. And he has long arms as well. So I have advocated for Barlow to get that. I don't think the Hawks and Quinn will. They're just going to stick with Clint for the rest of the year, unless obviously those times Clint wants to take a game off. It's actually surprising because Clint, outside of the game he missed that led to him being out because of the trade deadline, I mean, Clint hasn't missed a lot of games this year. So, I mean, he's been healthy for the most part this year, which is, sometimes in previous years, Clint will sit out a game because, he's hurt or something, or, he needs to take a game off, whatever. But, I definitely understand people's sentiment, and I've still stuck to my thing about it. I think Barlow should play. I just feel like, how much worse can it be realistically? And at least I feel like I'm more likely to get more offensively from Barlow if he's given an opportunity. The thing is with Barlow and a lot of the young guys, you notice they're very passive sometimes in this offense, just because I think when you're not a consistent person in the rotation, I think you become more passive because you don't want to just jack shots up and then Quinn pulls you and you don't know if you're going to see the floor again. Because, Quinn will do that where if, like, there's a stretch. Like, tonight in the game, Mohamed Gay missed a couple of threes and Quinn pulled him. I mean, that's just more of we're trying to win the game. He's not hitting threes. Kind of got to put Niang back out there. I mean, if Mo hit those threes, he might have kept him out there a little bit longer. So, but I feel like with Clint, especially because we've seen a lot of numbers that Clint and Niang on the floor together has really been a negative for this team. Because the initial thinking behind it is, okay, Clint is a decent defender. So if you put him on there with Niang, it's not too bad. Because, like, obviously, when they originally had Nance playing, if you had Niang and Nance, you're like, God, that's awful defensively. And you just got to hope they're scoring enough offensively to make up for it. But you would think with Clint Niang, that could be a little bit better. And really, in the numbers, it's shown that the Hawks have not actually been good at all with them both on the floor defensively. So I think that's obviously made people kind of be like, do we need to try something different? My boy David, D-Lee3, he had he posted something tonight. He showed a number, and I don't know if this is an overview of the season so far. When the Capella and Niang are on the floor, their net rating is minus 19. They're terrible when they're on the floor together. And so I think people are looking at Quinn and saying, listen, like it's pretty clear these two don't work together. It's one of those things where, and Brad Rowland mentioned it earlier too. He was like, at the end of the day, Clint Capella is now a backup center. You have to be willing. You cannot. He's not a starter that you're benching. He's a bench player. If you can get a little bit better minutes from somebody else on the bench, give him a shot. And I think that's something that I think I would agree with for sure. Because, obviously when Niang's on the floor and Capella's not on the floor, the Hawks have a positive net rating of 6.9. So clearly it's like, but when Capella's on the floor without Niang, it's a negative rating of 2.8. Obviously not as bad, but still not great. And so if you notice in the fourth quarter tonight, the Hawks actually made a bit of an adjustment. They went with Gay and Capella in the fourth quarter for a stretch, and it actually helped them. Now, the big issue with that duo has been offensively. That's not a great unit at all, because you're thinking, man, Clint ain't really a scorer. If Gay's not hitting threes, that's not really great. But the positives is you have much better rim protection and much better rebounding. So, again, it's one of those lineups where it's like you're losing some offense. So if you have that lineup on the floor, you definitely need to have like a Trey Levert on the floor, some guys who can put the ball in the basket to try to maintain the offense while Trey is off the floor, or whoever, or like I said, when Okongwu's not on the floor. So, I'm curious to see if that's something they're willing to do more of. Because like I said, there's perks and negatives to every rotation and every duo and things like that. And so I would not be surprised if maybe you see more Capella, more Gay lineups together, because that may just work a little bit better than a Niang and a Clint. Because I remember the Hawks just took the lead. Indiana hit 2 threes, took a timeout. They pulled someone out. I forgot. I think it might have been Niang, or they might have left him in there a little bit. But they pulled someone. Gay came into the game, or Niang was there when they started out of the timeout. Then they pulled him at some point during that stretch, brought Gay in, and then the Hawks were able to kind of get everything settled. And then, like I said, they hit a. Well, actually, no, I know what it is. So Niang was out there, but they did go out there for a little bit of a stretch with Capella and Gay on the floor before they went back to Niang, which has then led to the run that they made with Niang and Zach. So, I think overall, it'll be interesting to see how he navigates that position, because you got to find what works. You don't want to have a duo or a group on the floor where every time they're on the floor, teams can easily take a match, especially when you play against the Pacers. That may be better for them to have a Clint Mo lineup than a Capella Niang lineup, because that just hasn't been good for you. So we'll have to see. But like I said, Hawks did a lot of good things tonight to get this win over a good Indiana team. So really, really happy for the guys to get this win and just get back on the winning track. But let's go ahead and get to player performances. Trae Young tonight, 23, 3 and 16, 22 points, 16 assists. So Trae Young, obviously, he's a guy who, it's been a bit of an up and down thing for him. He had that stretch in February, for the majority of February, where he was really good, scoring 30 points a game, right? Then he's kind of gone back to scoring around recently 15 to 22 points a game during these last few games. Obviously, in those games, his assist total comes up like 16 tonight, because he can hurt teams in that regard. I think that's also coming with more chemistry. It's just more cohesion with teammates, like a man, like a Levert, Niang and him already had instant chemistry, so that not really too much that, but the first two guys for sure. And again, this was a game where when Trae was off the floor, the Hawks struggled. It's like that all the time with the Hawks, because the Trae Young just makes the game so much easier for his teammates in the offense. It's almost like a dramatic drop off when he comes off the floor. And so, the battle every night that Quinn has to decide with is like, I want to give him some breaks. I want to give him some rest. But at the same time, offense is struggling when he's not on the floor. And I made this mention during the game about Vic Krejci. I said, I really, really hope Vic Krejci gets back soon because he really helps that second unit with Dyson, with just in terms of the offensive cohesion. I don't remember if you guys remember, they had a little like Tabathia talked about that unit. I think the unit at that time was like Dyson, Krejci, Hunter. I want to say a Okongwu, and then maybe Zach was the original lineup they wanted to go with, and they kind of looked at that as kind of the lineup that's supposed to keep things steady while Trey's off the floor. Now with this new team, they've only had I think 1 or 2 games together with Krejci in terms of the trade, the guys with the trades, and them all playing. Because I think they only played in the Wizards game and the Orlando game until Krejci got hurt. But I mean, I'm thinking, Krejci, his passing is so important to this team because he just helps ball handling, helps with decision making, and takes a lot of pressure off a guy like Dyson. So when Trey goes to the bench, the offense just is a little bit more cohesive. The issue I've had, and you've seen in these games, is when it feels like it's just Dyson on the floor. Like LeVert can ball handle, but a lot of the time it's him penetrating and then kicking out if that's what he's doing. Dyson really actually has to play more of a point guard-ish role and try to set guys up. And Krejci's really good at setting people up. And so I really hope he can get back on Saturday because the offense, I think, with that second unit will be better when Trey comes off the floor. And really, again, you're not going to expect that second unit to start just being just a elite second unit. But what you're expecting is them to be able to maintain. Just keep it close, maintain, maybe win a couple of runs or a couple of minutes when he's off the floor. And then when Trey comes back in, we know what he can do. Like I said, he can get you 15, 16 assists, 20, 25 points, 30 points if he needs to. And, Trey Young is going to continue to be Trey Young. So, like I said, him just leading the charge in that regard tonight was big. I know, it feels like I've been rambling a lot this podcast. I'm sorry. I'm just ADHD kid here. Dyson Daniels tonight, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, like I just mentioned with him, the second unit. But Bob Rathburn talked about it tonight during the game. He said Dyson Daniels' offense has really came a long way since the beginning of the season. Like, remember where Dyson was at the beginning of the year offensively now? It just seems like that floater really is his thing, which we knew he had. But again, much bigger sample size that we're able to see. And then I think he said his 3-point ball is up to 34%. And I've seen a couple of people make mention of it, and I've noticed it too. He doesn't take a lot of threes. But it does seem like he's hitting them more. Like he'll give you the occasional air ball, but because he's still working with his shot. But it seems like that shot is more. It seems more makeable for him now. Where if Dyson takes 3 a game, I'm confident he'll hit 1, or he takes 4, I'm confident he can hit 2. And I think that's big because Dyson doesn't take a lot. He's a smart player. He understands where he is with his shot. His release is a little bit slower. So and obviously, too, when he takes a 3, he's taking higher percentage threes because a lot of his threes that he takes are wide open because that's the only ones he seems to be wanting to take. So the fact that it's creeped up, the fact that he's just offensively made a lot of progress has been huge. I think he's shooting over 50% as well this season. And tonight he was 8 of 12. So just continuing to really add that offense. And again, we don't know what Dyson's offensive ceiling is. Obviously, we're not expecting some star offensive player. But, if I said Dyson Daniels' stat line is 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, I think a lot of people would be happy with that. Because a lot of people were just saying, if Dyson could give me 10 to 12, I'll be happy. He's up to 14 on the year now. So I'm very curious to know about the development of Dyson Daniels as we continue to move forward. The Rim Wrecker, Onyeka Okongwu, 20 and 13 tonight, man. Onyeka Okongwu, man, again, really not talked about. But sometimes I wonder if that's a good thing. Because we would always talk about the center position when Clint was starting. Because should he start? Should he play? Should it be Onyeka? I mean, Onyeka, for the most part, is consistently giving you these 20, 13, 14, 12, 13, 11. He's giving you these double-doubles, man. not nice, but Okongwu has been good. And a lot of people have questioned Okongwu, have questioned, you know, if he's the long-term starter or whatever. But I mean, 2013, are we really bad about a center getting us 2013? And a lot of the time, especially think about how the Hawks play. That man, outside of unless he plays with Gay on the floor, that man does not play with any size next to him. Like that's the thing about what Okongwu's doing. Because one of the biggest knocks on Okongwu is that, he can't play against bigger players and bigger teams. The Hawks literally will have George Niang next to him or a Terrence Mann in some situations. If this man still give you 20 or 13. Can we please stop with the Okongwu hate, please? Yeah, good Okongwu, man. Beating families. Zach Knight, 11-4-2. Again, not one of his best games, but still, active, 11 points still, giving you something, 4 rebounds, still working. Zach, we know it's a journey for him, but like I said, that's my rook. And I just want him to keep playing hard. I just want him to keep competing. That's why Clint is playing him. And if you've noticed, for a lot of you, Zach was averaging around 20-21. Now he's getting about 25 minutes, 26 minutes a game. So his minutes have actually gone up a little bit over these last few games, which could be showing more trust from Clint. Mo Gay tonight, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 2 of 7 for the field, 0-4 from 3. Obviously, offensively struggled a bit tonight, but provided great energy rebounding. He also was big because, again, the eye with length against Siakam, against some of the bigger Pacers. Probably will be a repeat of that Saturday when they play him again. The biggest thing for him every game is you just hope, what can he give you offensively? If he can give you more offensively, you may sit here and think, okay, we can play him more. Like, when he finished against the Bucks, he hit 4 threes. So you could be like, we can play Mo Gay because he's hitting shots. So it's almost like Quentin's giving him a chance each game to show, should I stick with you longer than I would? And the game-by-game performance will dictate what happens with Mo Gay. But obviously, defensively is where he helps this team the most right now. Chris LeVert tonight, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Obviously, not a great offensive game for Chris LeVert. And, I could say that, after a couple of good games, LeVert's going to give you these games. He's going to give you these types of games, and you just hope he works through it. Because, again, he's a guy, when he gets hot, he gets hot. And so, not too worried about LeVert tonight. Niang, 24 points, 10 of 15 from the field, 4-8 from 3. Again, offensive guy. When he is scoring like this, I've always said when Niang hits shots, it feels like the Hawks offense, ignites. And so when he's playing like this, I feel like that's when the Hawks can really get going. And so that's why he's so big. Just because, listen, he obviously is giving you nowhere near what Jalen can give you defensively, rotations, things like that. But offensively, he gave you 24 points. You're happy with it. Man, 12 points tonight. Really wasn't great from 3 tonight, but still was able to be active offensively. And that's one thing about Man that I've been really impressed with, is he's not really known as an offensive guy. That's not what he's known for. But he has definitely stepped up his offensive contributions to this team. And that's been really, really big, because he's a guy who you can kind of see, Terrence Mann can hoop. He can provide something to you. And obviously, we talked about Clint Capella tonight. Really not much to say about him. So overall, like I said, really good win for them tonight against the Pacers. Really needed this win. They play them again Saturday, so we got to hope. We have to hope they can get a second win before the next game, because if they do, I've mentioned this, if they're able to beat Indiana, you then play, let me look it up, the Sixers. Obviously, that game could go either way. You got Maxime, Paul George. The Hornets. So 2 very winnable games before you got the Clippers and the Bogdanovich returning game. So Hawks can pull this next one off, man. That would be big. And the Hawks, if you think about it, the Hawks, all the way after the Wizards in February 8th, every team they've played has been a playoff team. So they've actually had a pretty decently tough schedule recently. So once you get past this stretch, you're going to be playing more non-playoff teams and a mixture of some playoff teams and some not. And that's why they say the schedule for the Hawks will actually get easier as the season goes closer to the end, as we are getting closer to the end. So, because the last 4 games you're ending with Magic. The last 5 games of the season you're ending with the Jazz, the Magic, the Nets, the Sixers, and then the Magic. All 5 games are extremely winnable. You'll probably be favored in at least 4 of them. So, the Hawks just got to keep pushing. This is where the Hawks can make their run, if they make a run, to really do something in the standings here. This would be the moment for them to do this. So we'll see how things go. But I think that's about it for me on the Believe in the Hawks podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, obviously. So follow me on Twitter also, Bryce_2K for all my Hawks and Falcons takes over there. I like to live tweet during the games, give opinions, whatever. And then audio listeners as well. Leave a rating, leave a review, and everything of the sort. So I definitely appreciate you guys tuning in for another Believe in Hawks episode as we are going to start getting to the home stretch here of this season. And we'll see where our Hawks end up when it comes to the play-in time. And your boy will be here ready to cover it and give you guys my thoughts on our squad. So I appreciate you guys. This is your Believe in Hawks podcast. I'm your boy, Bryce Lewis. See you next time.